Our first group is, as you can see, it's a large group of presenters, and it's EEST, E-E-S-T, and they'll tell you what this is, or EAST, as they pronounce it.
Great. So yesterday, Dr. Moat reminded us that engineers are really charged with solving societal problems. The Ebola epidemic is a current, very relevant issue. It's a global problem that really requires a very robust solution. So you might not think that this is a traditional area where engineers can really lend their expertise. This might not be a traditional engineering problem. We know that Ebola is, of course, a global epidemic. It's a global problem right now. It's really an issue related to the biology of the disease, the politics surrounding all of the different countries that are involved, societal issues, the availability and development of novel and effective therapies, socioeconomic issues as well, and also involves population dynamics in terms of the spread of the disease, the infrastructure and the resources that are available to address this global issue, as well as cultural and societal practices and the norms in that culture. So really this is a very complex problem, a multi-dimensional systems problem, but really it's an engineering problem. It's a systems level engineering problem. And so we propose to develop and train the next generation of engineers to think more broadly, to have more systems level integrative thinking. So we propose to look to the East and do this by engaging in early engagement in systems thinking.
And so we have a few big ideas, and the first one is about early engagement in interdisciplinary research. So the National Academies published their Gathering Storm report a few years ago, calling for the need for a diverse workforce in the United States. So to contribute to that, at Georgia Tech, we've been developing this program called Project Engages to engage, recruit, and retain a biomedical engineering workforce from groups that maybe traditionally don't think about entering engineering as a field. And what we found is that relevant clinical problems actually are able to draw these students in and keep them interested. And so what we've done is developed a boot camp that integrates biology with engineering and getting them into systems thinking. And in fact, 2 of the students in my group are actually working on HIV technologies for low resource settings, problems that could easily transition into the global epidemic of these global viruses, especially those that are affecting populations that look like them.
Similarly, in my lab, we've launched what we're calling the Synthetic Biology Bootcamp. And this is really to inspire and expose young students, the high school level and even early undergraduates, to the idea that engineering can actually be done with living cells. And thanks to sort of genomics era technology and sequencing, we have this sort of ever-growing parts list of molecular components, much like electrical engineers have parts lists of transistors with which to program electrical circuits, much like mechanical engineers have nuts and bolts to make mechanical systems. Now we have these genetically encoded parts with which to program cells. So we're using these parts to ask, what cellular functions can you build? And this idea of reframing biology as a design challenge is very appealing to young students. And it's inspiring a lot of young students to stop memorizing biology, but instead thinking about it as within an engineering context. So for Ebola or for major worldwide sort of healthcare problems like that, we would ask, can you engineer a cell to detect a viral infection and maybe even eradicate it and stop the spread?
Another example at UT Austin is we're trying to expose to the first-year undergraduate students in biomedical engineering with multidisciplinary research and hands-on experience. For example, undergraduate students come to my lab and perform genomic sequencing of their own genome, as well as some of their immune systems. And we can also encourage the student to detect the single cell analysis of their own immune cells. And first on their own, and then we actually give them samples from, for example, malaria patients and all other different diseases, cancer and autoimmunity. So let them using the system approach to actually detect the difference between healthy immune system and disease immune system, and trying to use that as an approach to enable vaccine design and also effective immune therapies.
The second big idea is to develop modules related to role playing. And so actually in my class, I'm teaching a systems biology class, and so I'm hoping to help the students to engage in mathematical modeling of biological processes such as cell signaling, metabolic pathways, and also genetic regulation. And so one example that I'm actually using in the class that's also related to sort of this global problem that we introduced in the beginning is role playing around the spread of infectious disease. So we have a whole classroom of students that are susceptible. We have patient 0 who's infected, and they go around and go through this role-playing exercise where they study and predict how fast will the disease spread amongst the susceptible population, how many rounds will it take for all the students to become susceptible. And so this involves thinking about probability and statistics, thinking about kinetics, thinking about stochasticity in terms of the evolution of this disease. And so we can implement these same types of interactive activities in a whole multitude of different classrooms and training programs.
So we talk about cultivating systems thinking in our students. But I see a problem, an enemy in the house, if you may say that. That's in our departments. How can we expect students to see the connections between different disciplines when they can't even see the connection between two courses taught in the same department? So what I'm doing is trying to develop or break down those barriers between courses in departments by developing what we call course content connectivity resources. So these are resources that help instructors and students to see the connection between courses in their department and then tie those connections to practical problems that the students can use to kind of demonstrate and reinforce those connected concepts.
So then the next continuation of this idea is to integrate system thinking and not teach students that they have to learn something now and deploy that knowledge years later. So we want to address that through a just-in-time education, just-in-time teaching and learning by minimizing the time delay between the moment when teaching occurs and the moment when that knowledge is being deployed in a complex system. So at the University of Michigan, I develop a program, an engineering practicum, which mimics the medical residency program, where engineers work and learn in industry as similar as medical residents work and learn in hospitals. They learn how to identify problems, how to perform the analysis, and how to deal with uncertainty, human factors, and to provide an integrative solution to complex engineered systems.
Finally, let's wrap up our presentation. Our vision about future engineering education is student-centered, technology-based, self-motivated, integrated system thinking. Thank you. Go East.
So you presented information about outreach to university students, some graduate students. What is the real focus? Is this a focus on first-year college students? Where do you really start? Do you start in high school and move your way up? I mean, what age group will you start this initiative with, and how will it grow from there?
Well, I think what we've looking at is that starting at all levels, actually, because you have even traditional engineers who aren't thinking about, as I said, looking outside of their own silos, so introducing them to looking around. High school students are not rigid in this silo yet, so you can open them up with starting to look around. And then even those students that are doing biology can open them up to what you can do to engineer biology. So I think we're looking at opening up the minds at each different stage, depending on what they might need. In parallel, yeah.
And I would like to add is that this process is a continuous process. So it doesn't stop anywhere. At the beginning, probably start from high school, but continuous process. So.
And it can also help current practicing engineers in understanding the bigger picture of the systems they're dealing with, because they're becoming ever more complex as time goes by.
Yes.
Thanks. I love the phrase opening up people's minds. How would you measure that in terms of these experiences having that effect on people?
Go, you're connected. You're the connector.
Well, so for mine, maybe it's a bit on the easier side. There's been talks of, you probably are familiar with cost inventory, concept inventories, right? And then there's this concept inventory that is kind of in development for different courses, connecting them. I mean, there's one I know of, mechatronics concept inventory. It's not yet established, but that's something that I want to develop. I think that can help, and I don't think it will do the trick completely, but at least help.
And at a master's level, the metric for success in this is the ability of the students to actually identify problems in a context where they deal with a lot of uncertainty and the problem definition is not very clear. So their success is measured in the improvement in the company operations, basically industry operations.
Time for one more. There's one more. Let's see. Let's thank our first group.